Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Thank you so much for joining me and choosing to spend your time with me to watch this video. Today we will make a little notepad holder. This time we're going to be able to put all of our gel pens, pens, pencils, whatever you have, whatever you would like to store it in here, you will be able to do that. The little packets for the pens or your markers, they are actually individual spaces. So when you place your pens, they will not be shifting all around. They are kind of contained in their own space. The spaces are large enough to fit your pencil, your pen, or even your marker. So let me put these back. And since we had a little bit space left on the bottom, I just decided to put little sticky notes in here. Now this notebook is just glued in notebook, and we will make just the same type of project. If you would like to make removable notebook, you could do that. I chose not to, but that's always an option for you. To make this, we will need 2 pieces of chipboard, 6 by 8.5. We're gonna need 2 pieces of chipboard, 1 by 8.5, and 1 piece of chipboard, 2 by 8.5. We will also need notepads. These I purchased from Dollar Tree, and this is the legal pads. There are 3 sections in it. You could buy them anywhere. You could buy them in Walmart, you could buy them in Staples, you can buy them anywhere. And all of those are pretty much the same dimension, which is 5 inches by 8 inches high. The thickness, it's also going to be very similar, so it doesn't matter where you buy them, you will be able to use them in this project. I will use paper for the cover and the inside of the project, the cover for the notebook. I will use paper. This is the Pearl and Cardstock, the Paper Studio, I guess by Amanda. 10 designs, 3 each. I really like this pack. I purchased this one from, I believe, Joann Fabric, and I think it was 40% off. I really like this collection. It has beautiful, vibrant colors. So this is the collection I will use. I chose to use this one for the front, and I think I'm gonna use this one for the inside. We will also need some, I will need black cardstock for the inside to cover the joints. And I think we're gonna need only 1 sheet of the cardstock. I will use black one. So we will cut our paper. So we will cut paper for the cover. And I guess this one, it's so busy, it doesn't matter which direction. I don't think it does. So we're gonna cut, this is 12 by 12. So we will cut 10.5 and 10.5. and this will be for our cover. So the 10-inch height, 10.5 inch, it's gonna be the height, and 12 inches is the length. So we will have to glue both pieces together. Now when you glue them, try to make sure that you are positioning the paper straight on the bottom. If you are not sure, you can take your spatula or maybe your ruler and kind of bat it against that to make sure that you glue this straight. You don't want one piece to go up and another one down. So, okay, the cover is glued, and now we will be applying our chipboard. When we are applying our chipboard, I like to lay it out first because I need to make sure that this joint will not be anywhere in between the chipboard. It always has to be kind of on the middle of one of your wider pieces. So the way we're gonna glue it is this way, just like that, and pretty much standard for any type of folio, notebook cover, any type of cover. When you are working with the chipboard, it is standard to put about 1/8 of an inch space in between. That accommodates actually for the thickness of the chipboard when you fold it. So this is the reason why it's going to be 1/8 of an inch. And you can see we will have leftover piece on this side, which we will cut it after we glue all of the pieces. So I'm gonna start with the middle piece first. And that's only because I want to make sure that I have that one positioned right in between, that this is gonna be right somewhere on the middle. It doesn't have to be exactly on the middle, but it can't be too close to your edge. So let's make sure that the glue really adheres, and I will glue rest of the pieces this way. So it's gonna be 6 and 8.5, 1 and 8.5, 6 and 8.5, 1 and 8.5, and 2 and 8.5. I will glue that and I will be right back. Okay, I got all my pieces glued. So now we need to remove the excess of this paper. So what I'm gonna do, I am gonna leave only approximately 1 inch of the paper right here. And now we're gonna be able to work on our scores, and we will pre-score the cardstock all around, just like that. You can pay a little bit extra attention to whatever the joint is where we glued one paper on the top of the other. So we will just score it all around. That's gonna help us bend the paper. Again, this is pretty much standard also. Anybody who works with the paper, this is what really needs to be done. And so anyway, now I'm gonna run my spatula right against the edges, just to help that fold, and that's gonna give us that nice, really nice sharp crease around the board. Just like that. Okay. So now we can miter the corners. I like to use these, but I got scissors right here, so I use those. When you miter the corners, just go on a little angle to the corner, but you have to leave a little bit space in here, in between your cut and a chipboard, just to make sure that you're going to be able to wrap those corners really nicely. So you don't want to go all the way to the chipboard and cut it. You need to leave a little bit space. So just like that. And now we can start gluing our flaps. So fold over and just take your time. Depending on how thick your paper is, you may have to work it a little bit. This one, it's a little bit thicker. It's almost like a cardstock, so it's just a little bit different. And we're gonna do the sides. I also like to apply the glue right here by the edge of the cardboard to make sure that everything, all those edges are nicely glued. Let's do the bottom side. And we do the same thing. Okay, then we have only one more side left. Right here. Okay. All right. This one is all glued. So I don't know what I did with my other spatula, and I don't like this one. This one is a little bit too sharp, so I need to work in here a little bit in between the chipboard just to make that little crease. But I have to be careful because this is too sharp and I don't want to cut the paper. So we're gonna do this on all four sides. Just like that. Okay. So now we're gonna need to pre-cut chipboard to cover those spaces right here in between. So our piece needs to be 8 inches long, and we will cut 1 inch and a quarter, 4 pieces. So those 4 pieces, we will glue it right here. Let me just put this the right way. So we're gonna cover the spacing in between the chipboard to give a little bit more stability to the cover. And again, this is something that it's standard pretty much for any folio that you would be making. This is really nothing special. Alright, and we're gonna glue it like that. I believe this is done even in a book binding. So there is just standard process for this. Okay, let's make sure we got all the edges done. And you can even bud this together. Now you might think why I did not put one piece all across. I try not to do that because they are going to be 2 folds, and if this piece is a solid piece, it might buckle right on the middle. That's the reason why I don't do that. So let's just start folding this a little bit at least, so the paper could shift, since the glue is not totally stuck yet. And you can see it how it kind of pulled apart. So if that would be one piece, you might have a problem right here in this area. That's why I do it this way. So let's do this side. And I'm trying to position this on the middle. If you position this piece and you have the distance in here straight, that means you are pretty much on the middle. So I'm using that as a somewhat of a guide to help me determine if this is straight or not. So now we're gonna put this right here. Okay, the glue has to adhere. You know, if it makes you more comfortable, you can just glue this and leave it for a few minutes, just so glue adheres well before you start bending the pages. But I think this side is done. It seems like it is. Now you don't want to force this too hard. It might break on this side. So it's almost like we are training the paper to fold that way. So with this piece you just need to be a little bit patient. Just like that. And you see our cover is getting there. So we're gonna do the same on this side. Now my spatula is kind of sharp and I don't want to cut that paper. And we're gonna do the same thing right here. Alright, so our cover is done. So now we need to cut the paper for the inside. So my first cut, all of the pieces to cover inside, the height it's gonna be 8 1/4 on all pieces. So just to make it a little bit easier, I'm gonna pre-cut the whole sheet to 8 1/4. And now the first panel is 6 by 8 1/4, so we will cut to 5 3/4. Again, this is also pretty much standard for covering anything. You just adjust by 1/4 of an inch. So I got two pieces, 5 3/4 by 8 1/4. And now this is the leftover piece. So we're gonna cut again to 8 1/4 for the height. And now we're gonna cut two pieces, 3/4 of an inch. And one piece, 1 3/4 of an inch. Okay. So now we can glue all these pieces onto our cover. So this is the 5 3/4. This is 3/4 of an inch. This is 5 3/4. 3/4 of an inch. And this is 1 3/4. So we're gonna glue it just like that. I will start with a small piece, just to show you what I'm paying attention to. Okay, so I'm trying to position on the middle in between those two scores. And then I pay attention to the top and the bottom. I want to make sure that the distance from the edge on the top to the paper that we just glued is about the same as the bottom piece. It doesn't have to be exact, but it's nice when it's close enough. So now I will glue rest of the pieces and I will be right back. Okay, I got the pieces glued. So now we can glue our notepads. And again, if you want it, you can make it a removable one, but I will just glue it. If you want to create a removable one, what you do, you cut strip of the paper, you put it all the way on the back, just like that. You fold it over, not too tight, leave a little bit space, at least on one side. So when you make this kind of mark, you can remove the paper and just glue those portions right here, just like that. So then you're gonna have access from the top, and I would use something a little bit wider. This is just to show you what I would have done. But I will just glue this one. Just like that. When you position, try to position on the middle to make it look nice and pretty. So now let's make sure that this glue adheres. I think with this glue you got a few seconds to kind of move it the way you want it. And we got our notepad. So now we will be working on creating this. See, they don't move because of those separations that are created right on the inside. So now we're going to create this pocket, and you can see there are partitions right there. So we're going to create this. So to create that, we will need black cardstock. I will need black one. You might choose different color, which would be fine. So we need to cut this 2 inches. At least this is how I have done the piece that you were looking at. So I'm gonna cut 2 inches, and I'm gonna cut another piece also 2 inches. So now one of these pieces we will score, and this particular cardstock I have, this is actually 11.5 inches. So I will just score this at 1/2 inch all the way across. So 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5, 5.5, 6, and every 1/2 inch all the way to the end. When I did the first piece, I really didn't count how many sections I had. I just cut this cardstock all the way to, not cut, I scored it all the way to the end. So now we will just fold that, fold all those scores. Just like that. And now we need to mark this cardstock. So I will use my white marker so you can see what I'm doing. And now every space in here on this board represents 1/2 inch. So I am going to put little marks every 1/2 inch all the way to the end on both sides. And again, this doesn't have to be perfect, but it should be close enough. Then you're going to get nice and even separations for your markers, pens, or gel pens, whatever you want. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Now if you're using lighter cardstock, you're going to be able to mark it just with the pencil, just so you can see it. And this really is going to help you to finish this project. So now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to connect those dots. Just make the line, because we will use these lines as a guide. And don't worry, you won't be able to really see them after we finish our project. Okay. Like I mentioned to you, I did not measure it, what I need. We're not gonna need all of them, but then we're gonna pre-cut to size. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna take this fold over piece and we're just gonna apply glue right here, and we're gonna glue this into this first mark, just like that. So we are joining those two pieces together, and here is the glue. So now what we're gonna do, we are creating a square. You see, this is what we need to create, a square. So this piece right here, that's where we need to apply the glue. We're gonna apply the glue, and when you fold this over, you want to make sure that you're creating that square. And now you are matching up all those lines that we marked. Just like that. And this is your first packet for your marker, your pen. So now we're gonna skip this one, this space, and we're gonna create another square just like that. So you see, this is closed square and this one is open. This one we're gonna close it. So we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna apply glue right here, just like that. And now when you put it together, you want to make sure that you're creating that square, just like the first one, and you are lining up those lines. So now you see we got two of them created. And we will continue. We will fold the next one. And now we create this square, just like that. And we're gonna glue this next portion. See, this is the portion that we wanna glue right after the square that you create. So I'm gonna apply glue right here. And when you actually holding the paper in your hands and you're trying to make this, it really makes sense. You're gonna see it, that you're creating those squares. So it might look a little bit difficult, but it's really not when you're holding this and you're looking at the piece. So now this portion is glued. So now we are creating next square. Just like that. And now we're gonna apply glue right here to the other side. I'm putting too much glue. Okay. So now we're gonna create that square. And we are lining up the lines that we marked. Oops. So you can, if you open this up, you're gonna see that this is all lined up against that line. Oops, something got glued to my fingers. So now we're gonna create another one, just like that. So we're gonna apply glue right here to this portion. And before I apply the glue, let me just check, because we're not gonna have enough left for the next one. So we created 1, 2, 3, 4. So the fifth one we're not gluing. What we're gonna do is we're gonna create that square, and the portion where we are gluing, we're gonna cut it. So when you open this up, you got half inch, half inch, half inch and half inch, and then we cut. So now normally we would glue this right here, but because this is gonna be the end of our holder, we're gonna glue this to the inside, just like that. You see, we're gonna fold this the opposite way, and we're creating that square, and this is where we're gonna glue it. So the last portion, and we're gonna fold this over to create that square, and we're gonna glue it to the inside like this. And then you might wanna try to put something on the inside to kind of squish it a little bit so that adheres on both sides. And now whatever we have left over of this, we can just cut it. Just don't cut whatever we just glued. So now what we just created is pretty much what I have in here. See? So this is how this is gonna go. But before we glue it, we're gonna decorate this whole top portion. So to decorate that, we will cut more paper. So the piece that we just created, it measures about 4.5 inches. So we know that the length is going to be 4.5, and we need to add additional 2 inches to the length. The height is 2 inches, so we will cut just a little bit longer, and I'm gonna cut 2 1/4. So 2 1/4 dimension is gonna cover this piece, and now we said that this is 4.5 plus 2 inches. We need to cut 6.5. So now you can see if we glue it, we still have leftover. We will score this piece at 1/2 inch and 1 inch. We turn it around and again score 1/2 inch and 1 inch. So the distance between those two scores should be 4.5 inches, and it is. So now if I try to wrap this, you see? Now we're gonna glue all these pieces, and we're gonna have a really nice finish. So the way we're gonna glue this, we're gonna do it step by step. So first I'm gonna apply glue in between, in the first panel and in between the first score and the second. So I'm gonna apply glue right here, and this is how I'm holding this. You see, open space is towards me, and I'm gluing the first 1/2 inch to the bottom of my piece and the second half to the side. So now when I open this, you see we got 1/2 inch on the back, 1/2 inch glued on the side. So now what I'm gonna do, I will actually use double-sided tape, and you could use glue, you could use tape, whatever you feel more comfortable with. So I'm gonna apply right here to the first one by the panel. This didn't trim right. So what I'm trying to do is apply double-sided tape onto the top of each of those squares. So I'm gonna apply one here, one here, and one here. Okay. So this is what we have. Top of the box and a tape on the top. So I'm gonna remove the tape and we're gonna go one section at a time. So I'm gonna apply this one first. Now I will remove the second one right here, but now when I close it, I'm trying to make sure that I'm creating square right here in between. See? So now we got 3 of them already done. So the same thing with the next one. I'm gonna remove the backing tape, just like that. And now when I position, I try to make nice even square. And I just make sure that this adheres, just like that. So now we got 2 more left, and we do the same thing. Now, if you like this project, if you like this video, please hit like, comment, share, and subscribe. I would really appreciate. It really helps a lot my channel. So, here is the next one, and you see how nice they are? So now your pens are not going to be shifting. And the last one, just like that. And now the rest of it we can just glue. We're gonna apply glue right here. And we're gonna glue the side, and we are gluing the back. Let's just hold it for a second to make sure that the glue adheres. And now this is going to be our top. So you can see a little paper on the side, and we can just trim this off. Just a little bit on the angle, all the way towards the back. So when we actually glue it, you won't be able to see the white peeking from the back. And we can do the same thing on this side, just like that. So you see, it didn't take that long, and it's gonna look absolutely beautiful. So now, before I glued that, I actually tested with the pens that I wanted to have here, because I want to make sure that I leave enough space, enough room right here on the top. So if you want, you can put your pens wherever you want to keep in there, just so you can see what distance from the top you want to have free. So now I'm gonna just apply the glue. And now I think it's just a little bit easier to position this. Just like that. I will remove the pens and I will just hold it for a second, or if you want, you can put something on the top. I got a whole bunch of tapes in here. You can put it just on the top to make sure that everything adheres. And I found my spatula. Okay. So now when I place all of my pens the way I wanted them, now with this design you really need pen with this little tab, because otherwise there's nothing to hold that pen in place and it will just fall through the bottom. So when I did this, then I had some sticky pads and I just glued them just like that. Now I had somewhere black Velcro, but right now I can't locate it, so I will use the Velcro dots that I just have, and I will place them right here, and one more, somewhere's here. So now when we close it, when you close and you try to glue the Velcro, just make sure that all your sides are nice and even, so you do have a really nice result. And now I just make sure this is not glued yet, but it's not stuck yet. And this is our project. I think it looks beautiful even from the top. You open it and I think it's just beautiful presentation. So I hope you enjoyed this project. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I see you in the next one.